Welcome back, Truth Seekers, Paradigm Busters, New World Order, Civil Disobedience, Free Thinkers, Freedom Fighters, lovers of all that is good in life, good people of all types. My name is Michael Parker. We have got a fascinating show for you today. We are going to be speaking with Paul Stonehill. He is an author. His first book, The Soviet UFO Files, was published in 1998 in English, Czech, and Dutch. He is a television consultant, a lecturer, a researcher of Russian, Eastern European, Central Asian, and Far Eastern paranormal phenomena. He's had articles translated and published in many languages. He has consulted and appeared in various American television shows, the History Channel, TLC, Discovery, Sightings, a lot of television. I was actually watching some of his shows that people have uploaded onto YouTube over the week. He's currently got a new book out, which is called Mysterious Sky, Soviet UFO Phenomena. This week he will be appearing at MUFON Los Angeles here in Studio City, California. Later in the summer, he will also be appearing at the Bay Area UFO Expo. Without further ado, Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Well, we're very excited to have you. I've been looking over a lot of your work over the week, and I have to commend you. I mean, you not only do you write about UFOs and military secrets of Russia and the Soviet Union, but you write about a lot of different things. The ancient civilizations, you write cryptozoological articles. So I think what we're going to start off with in the first hour is we're going to talk about the work that you've done looking into UFOs in the Soviet Union and Russia and the Ukraine, and then some in the second hour. I want to talk a little bit about the Russian snowman. I think the best place to start off with is a subject that I'm fascinated with, which is the Tunguska explosion. Over the years, I've read a lot about this. There's a lot of different theories, of course, as to what exactly happened here. But I'd just like to hear your take on it, and maybe you can explain for some of our listeners who aren't as familiar with this situation what the Tunguska explosion was, when it happened, and where it happened.
Most important is to remember the date, June 30, 1908.
Okay.
And, I and many other people believe that this might have been the most famous Russian UFO case of of all times.
Mm-hmm.
Something exploded over Siberia on that date and flattened more than 2,100 square kilometers of forest. It left no craters, no obvious fragments. No pieces were recovered, although some people now say that maybe something was recovered. But there is no concrete proof, so we'll go that nothing was recovered.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a tremendous explosion, equal to 40 explosions over Japan.
40?
Over Hiroshima. Just one second. And
so like 40 this is essentially a 40 megaton explosion?
Absolutely. And the effects that it left are very, very interesting. There had been biological effects to the explosion, genetical mutations, even perhaps people who were affected by it developed unusual traits. When I say perhaps because there have been studies in the Soviet Union and Russia. What's interesting is that for a long time, no one basically knew what had happened until an expedition by a Soviet scientist named Kulik. However, once it's like a swamp, it sucks you in because you find out that there had been other earlier expeditions to the site. We just don't know who went there. I'll be quick. We know that Stalin sent a special expedition in '49. And that very prominent Soviet people were quite interested.
Now, I think you'd also did you say that the Tsarist actually did expeditions to there as well?
Well, I wouldn't say the Tsar, but there were
the Tsarists. I'm sorry.
There were people during his time that did go, and we just don't know who they were. But what's interesting is that the official expedition of the Russian Geographic Society was on the site at the very precise moment on June 30th, and when their diaries were read, it was completely unusual. They don't mention anything about the incident.
Really?
These people were top-notch scientists on site. They were studying something else. How could they miss this incident unless somebody, cleaned up their diaries,
Right.
which, wasn't done in Tsarist times, really, or their minds were, so to say, turned off. Inconsistencies. What I want to underline is that we do not know how many objects were in the sky. I'll get to the most important immediately. We can always discuss other matters.
Okay.
Because there were two objects described by witnesses, and when you correlate their reports, you start seeing a very unusual, descriptions. There was a so-called southern object. It was described as a star-like, white bluish. Its color was in that, and it was flying early in the morning hours on that day. And then there was an eastern object which was seen later that day. It was described as a fast-moving reddish flying object. Apparently, and this is very interesting, the two objects met each other in the sky over Siberia, and there was an explosion. We can call it that. Now, some modern Russian scientists went further. They had correlated what had happened at that day with Yakutia, testimonies and reports. Yakutia is an area not that far away from there, very removed, very unusual area in the former Soviet Union. Today it's an autonomous republic in the Russian Federation, full of diamonds, full of beautiful women, and very hard to reach. Okay, and what's interesting is that for many, that there are areas in the Viluisk part of Yakutia where there have been reported embedded metal objects, huge object that has been, laying in the permafrost for thousands of years, and locals have described them to be laughing abysses, huge metal cauldrons, even strange-looking beings that were frozen. And then, of course, in the book I go into details, and what's interesting is that there have been reports of gigantic spheres, fiery spheres that are being shot out from inside the Earth that fly into the sky, and apparently they shoot down intruders. That in itself is very interesting, because apparently there might have been an autonomous station located inside the Earth, which might have been left by people from the sky, as the locals call them, and more complicated ancient names. And if so, if this theory will be proven correctly, something shut down an object that came into our atmosphere. If it was a part of a celestial body that could have destroyed life on Earth, and it was shut down by a so-called sentry, then we have protectors, let's say, on our planet. That's only one of the theories. We also have interesting theories by Russian scientists like late Dr. Zolotov that say that a UFO, gigantic UFO, entered our atmosphere over Siberia and exploded or was shut down. We have theories that something imploded, that maybe something was leaving Earth, and the effect was the Tunguska explosion. Whatever it is, I think this is one of the most important cases, like I said, historical cases. And what's more interesting, why I said let's remember that date, because this is the date when the supposition before Earth and Mars and Venus are the best. That means if a spaceship was to leave Mars at that date, this was the best day to fly to Earth.
Because of how close they were to each other. Wow. I guess the official scientific theory is that an asteroid exploded above the Earth. And how high did they think these objects were when they exploded, approximately?
It was over the taiga. The thing is, like I said, 2,000 times the force of the atomic bomb explosion over Hiroshima, number one. Number two, no traces left, no physical, tangible proof. You can't get it. But there was a genetic aftermath that has been studied in trees, in natives, and in the settlements not far away. species were changed. They had morphometric changes in the species.
They mutated?
Absolutely.